So, namaste, and thank you for joining in this series on the Lajjitadi Avasthas. So, we are in the fourth installment of the ongoing series, and in the last part of Lajjitadi Avastha, we had actually looked at, two avasthas. Number one was the Garvita Avastha, which means being proud. Okay. And then we looked at the Shurita Avastha, which means starved. Okay, starved, right? So today we will be looking at the other avasthas. Then the next avastha that we'll be looking at is the Trishita Avastha. Okay, Trishita means thirsty. Okay, it translates to thirsty. All right. Now, what does the BPHS say with regards to the Trishita Avastha? If we look at the chapter on Graha Avasthas, verse number 15, Parashara explicitly mentions that a planet which is in a water sign aspected by an enemy with no auspicious planet aspecting it is said to be Trishita. Okay, so a planet has to be in a water sign, and then it also has to be aspected by an enemy planet with no other auspicious planet aspecting it. Okay, so it is known as Trishita. Okay, so Trishita Avastha is in effect when a planet is in a water sign. What are the water signs? Answer: Scorpio and Pisces. Okay, and that planet is aspected by an enemy planet without any aspect, from the Saumya Grahas. Okay, what are the Saumya Grahas? Chandra, Buddha, Brahaspati, and Shukra. Okay, so if a Saumya Graha is aspecting this planet, which is in a water sign and aspected by an enemy planet, then the Trishita is combated. Okay, and keep in mind I'm saying aspected. Okay, not joining. All right. So if a enemy planet joins this planet in a watery rashi, then the avastha that we had discussed in the last class, it was Shuddhita. Okay, only the aspecting planet or the aspecting enemy planet will cause Trishita. Okay, so as I said, Trishita, it means thirsty, and Trishita Avastha, it indicates the lack of emotional fulfillment that is experienced by a planet. Okay, now if you look at the classics, other classics of Jyotish like the Jataka Parijata or the Prashna Marga, Trishita and Shuddhita, they are, they will almost appear to be synonymous, but they are not. Okay, although Trishita Avastha is very closely related to the Shuddhita Avastha, it's a very separate Avastha. Okay, so when Trishita is there, Shuddhita will be present. All right, but then each Avastha has to be read and analyzed separately. Okay, so as an astrologer, you will first analyze the Shuddhita influence, and this will indicate the level of disappointing hardships that the planet will experience. Okay, then you will determine the Trishita Avastha by subtracting the Shadbala of the aspecting planet multiplied by the aspectual value divided by 60. Okay, from the Shadbala of the planet, and this you will also include any strength gained from being in Garvita Avastha. Okay, and to this value you will add the Shadbala times aspect value divided by 60 of any Saumya Graha aspecting who are not enemies. Okay, so it's quite a complex calculation, and but you don't have to do it by your hand. Okay, you can use the software. Any paid software would give you the Lajjitadi Avastha of a planet, especially Kala. Okay, Kala astrological software gives you that. Even Sri Jyoti Star will give you that. Even Parashara's light will give you that. Okay, so you don't have to worry much about the calculations. You just have to know what these avasthas lead to. Okay, so the resultant value that you get represents the Trishita or the thirst of the planet. Okay, now what happens? There are certain conditions that apply to the Trishita Avastha. So the first condition is that if the thirst or the Trishita Avastha takes the planet below its minimum required Shadbala, then the planet will feel that the effort to have success in this hard and competitive world is not really worth the fulfillment given. So this is a very peculiar condition, okay, because we know that Earth is not a perfect place to live in. Okay, We know that the earth is not, perfect by any standards. We have to work hard to have our way. But then if a planet is in a Trishita Avastha, and this Trishita Avastha, if it takes the planet below its minimum required Shatbala, then such a planet will make the native believe that, regarding the amount of hard work and competition you have to face in this world, it is not really worth the fulfillment that is obtained. Okay. Then, if the Trishita Avastha takes the planet Shatbala to 0 or less, then the experiences of the planet confirm to the individual that the fight is not at all worth the fulfillment given, and all desires and hopes are abandoned. Okay, so this is another difficult condition, because you start, why do we work hard? We work hard because we have a hope of something, we have a hope of achieving something, some fulfillment, whether it is monetary fulfillment, whether it is emotional fulfillment, or so on. Okay, so the planet becomes hopeless and it abandons all its, all the hopes of fulfillment that it can get by working hard. Okay, now if a planet is in Garvita Avastha, it can actually withstand being in Trishita to a much greater degree than other planets due to the benefit of additional Shadbala. Okay, if you want to go back, you can go back to the calculations of the Garvita Avastha, how it is calculated. I've mentioned it in my last video. So it can actually prevent this thirst. Okay, so Trishita Avastha can actually be prevented. Okay, now which is the planet that does not have any enemies? It is the moon. Okay, so the moon will never be in Trishita Avastha. All right, and which is the planet having the highest number of enemies? It is Saturn. Okay, so Saturn is the planet which is most likely to be affected by the Trishita Avastha. Okay, now Trishita Avastha of any planet will be all the more painful if the moon is starved or agitated, or if the moon starves Saturn. Okay, so as I said, amongst all the planets, Saturn has the highest number of enemies. So if Saturn is being starved by the moon, okay, the result will be really, really painful. Okay, so Trishita Avasthas reveal the Trishita Avastha reveals that a planet in a watery sign, although it is starved by an aspecting enemy, through its capacity to be easily pleased with some gentle treatment, will not suffer as much as a Shobhita planet, because they simply do not need as much. Okay, simply some kindness will suffice. So what am I saying? I'm saying that it is much easier to remedify a Trishita Avastha as compared to the Shobhita Avastha. Okay, it's much easier to remedify a planet in Trishita Avastha as compared to a planet which is in Shobhita Avastha. So I'll come to Shobhita Avastha in a while. Okay, so next we come to the Mudita Avastha. Mudita means delighted. Okay, Mudit, it actually means Mudit. Mudit means delighted. So if a planet is in a friendly Rashi, joined by a friend and aspected by a friend, and then that joins with Jupiter, then it is known as Mudita Avastha. Okay, a planet in friendly Rashi, joined by a friend, aspected by a friend, and then joining Jupiter, it is called Mudita. Okay, so Mudita means delighted, and this Avastha is in effect when a planet is in a friend's Rashi, joined by a friend or joined with a friend, and the planet is aspected by a friend or joined by Jupiter. Okay, so four avasthas, four conditions or possibilities that form Mudita Avastha. The planet has to be in a friend's Rashi, it has to be joined by a friendly planet, it has to be aspected by a friendly planet, or it has to join Jupiter. Okay, and a planet in Mudita Avastha, it gains the Shadbala influence of the planet that causes the Mudita. That means that causes the delighted state to manifest. So if this influence comes from being in a Rashi, then the value gained is that of the Shadbala of the Lord of the Rashi. Okay, if this influence comes from the conjunction of a planet, then the value gained is that of the Shadbala of the joining planet. And if this influence comes from an aspect, then the value gained is that of the Shadbala multiplied by the aspectal value, again divided by 60. Okay, so you don't have to go for the calculations. As I said, the software will easily calculate it for you, but you need to know what each of these avasthas imply. Okay. Just hold on. Drink some water. Just hold on. Okay. So Mudita is the most common way in which a planet becomes fulfilled. Okay. And while mudita is just one of the two desirable avasthas as compared with the other unfavorable avasthas, planets have more friends. So, it is not as unfair as it may first appear. Okay. Apart from Saturn, all other planets have equal number of friends and equal number of enemies. All right. So, it may be unfair to Saturn, but for the other planets, mudita avastha is not unfair. Okay. So if the planet is in a favorable mudita avastha, it does not prevent starvation, thirst, or agitation. Okay, rather it indicates a very happy time in life at some point. But then that does not mean that the planet in a negative avastha does not have its full impact. Okay, but when that healing happy time comes because of the planet being in mudita avastha, it can be a very very healing period for that which happened when the starvation or thirst was experienced. Okay, so Saturn joining in this condition is never treated as a friend in respect to this avastha, because Saturn joining forms the previously mentioned inauspicious Shuddhita avastha. Okay, now a planet which is joined by the sun does not form Mudita avastha even if the sun is its friend. Okay, so if a planet is joined by the sun, because sun is not a it's not a Saumya graha, it's a Krura graha. So a planet joining by the sun or joined by the sun, it actually forms the inauspicious Shobhita avastha. Okay, I'll come to Shobhita avastha. And a planet which is friendly to the sun and who is joined by the sun does cause mudita to the sun. So you have to be careful if the mudita involves the sun. Okay, now what is Jupiter? Jupiter represents our internal happiness. Okay, so the better the avasthas of Jupiter, the more powerfully felt will be the mudita avastha. Okay, so this is very very important to understand. Okay, so any doubt till here? This is actually heavy stuff that we are dealing with. Okay, so you might have to revisit a number of times in order to get this. Okay, so next we come to the Shobhita avastha. Okay, so what does Brahat Parashara Hora Shastra say? So, Shobhita means agitated. Okay, so if a planet joins the sun and is aspected by all the Papa Grahas, then the planet becomes Shobhita if an enemy also is aspecting. Okay, what are the Papa Grahas? Saturn, Mars, Rahu, and Ketu. These are the Papa Grahas. So if a planet is being aspected by all the Papa Grahas and then is joined by the sun, and then an enemy is also aspecting the the planet, in that case it becomes a Shobhita avastha. Okay, so there are two possibilities for Shobhita avastha. Okay, so Shobhita avastha will be in effect when a planet is joined by the sun, or it is aspected by all three Krura grahas. Okay, and at least one enemy. All right, the sun is also a Krura graha. Okay, so there are two possibilities. Yes, when a planet is joined by the sun and then aspected by all the other three Krura grahas and at least one enemy, then it is known as Shobhita avastha. Okay, now a planet that goes into Shobhita avastha caused by the sun, its Shadbala, the Shadbala of such a planet gets reduced by the Shadbala of the sun. Okay, and if the Shobhita avastha is caused by the aspect of an enemy, then the Shadbala of the aspecting planet multiplied by its expectual value divided by 60 is subtracted from the Shadbala of the agitated planet, which reveals the degree of lack or starvation. Okay? And in addition to this, we must realize that the planet becomes utterly incapable of producing good results due to aspects of the Krura Grahas. Okay? And if unless and until the planet is in Garbita or Mudita, if it is aspected by Krura Grahas, it becomes very incapable of producing good results. Okay. Now, the few indications of Shobhita. Yes. So when Shobhita Avastha is achieved by the aspect of a Krura Graha, the same enemy or the same Krura Graha will also be causing Shuddhita Avastha. Okay, so what it means that a Shuddhita planet is not only suffering starvation, it is also blocked and frustrated. Okay, so Shobhita Avastha is a more painful type of Shuddhita Avastha. Okay, Shobhita Avastha is a more painful type of Shuddhita Avastha. Yes, and in my experience, Shobhita Avastha is more painful when Mars is starved or when Mars starves Saturn. Okay. Okay. So, as I was saying, Shobhita Avastha is more painful when Mars is starved, okay, or when Mars is starving Saturn. All right. The other condition is when the Sun is causing Shobhita Avastha by joining a planet. Such a planet may also be in Shuddhita Avastha if the Sun is an enemy. Okay. And in this case, the effects of both the avasthas will be realized, but this may not be cumulative in nature. Okay. Now, a planet in Shobhita Avastha, it will indicate that the native or the individual will invest his or her individuality into the Shobhita planet in such a way that only frustration will result. Okay. So, it's like the native flogging a dead horse, but the dead horse, will not walk even if you flog it for the next 1 hour or so. Okay. So this is how an individual or the native will invest into the Shobhita planet. Okay. And, the Navagrahas, not the Navagrahas, the Saptagrahas, except the sun, they are actually satellites of the sun. Okay, they act as satellites of the sun, and you need to use them as satellites, okay, as good things in life, but things which are not the individual. Okay, so you are not the sun, you are not the moon, you are not Saturn, you are not Mercury, you are not Jupiter, you are a combination of all these, all these planets. Okay, so you need to use all these planets as the good things that are there in your life, but don't be too invested in it. That is the remedy. Okay, that is the reason why why I'm doing this course, because it's very easy to rectify the habits of the planets. Okay, there is another avastha which is known as the Shayanadi Avastha. Shayanadi is something that is almost like predestined. Okay, but Lajjitadi Avasthas, you can fix it. Okay, Lajjitadi Avasthas can be fixed. If you fix the habits of the planets, you can actually fix the Lajjitadi Avasthas of the planets. So that was one of the main reasons why I did this course, because Lajjitadi Avasthas can be easily remedified as compared to the other planets. Okay, so when a planet joins the sun, the individual begins to see the other planet as an extension of themselves rather than as something that can be used. And as a result, such an individual can become personally frustrated with something that should not be personal. Okay, so the remedy for Shobhita Avastha is that you must learn to use these planets impersonally. Okay, and there is one more thing that modern astrologers don't use, but Parashara says that you have to consider two planets in different rashis ruled by the same planet to have the same effect as in conjunction. Okay, two planets in different rashis ruled by the same planet will have the same effect as conjunction. Okay, for example, say you have Saturn in Sagittarius and Mercury is in, say, Pisces. So both of them are ruled by Jupiter. In that case, you have to consider that Saturn and Mercury are in conjunction in the chart. Okay, so this is a very overlooked principle. Okay, some say that this is a Gemini principle, but no, this is also mentioned by Parashara. Okay, you have to understand this. Okay, so any doubt till here? If not, we can proceed to the avasthas, the nature of the, the effects of the avasthas. Okay, so effects of the Lajjitadi Avasthas. All right. So what happens is, in whichever house a planet is sitting, either in Shobhita or Shuddhita Avastha, the effects of that house are lost. Okay. If a planet is sitting in a particular house and such a planet is in Shuddhita Avastha or Shobhita Avastha, the effects of that house are lost. Okay. So not only the planet is suffering, even the house is suffering. This is very important. It is just like combustion. What happens with a combust planet? If a planet has gone combust, then the rashis that are ruled by the planet will not be capable of giving you results. The resources of that house are not available. Okay. In case of Lajjitadi Avastha, the house itself is damaged. All right. So there are two things, rashis and houses. Okay. In case of combust planet, the rashis are damaged. Okay. In case of Lajjitadi Avastha, if a planet is in Shobhita or Shuddhita Lajjitadi Avastha, in that case, the house or the signification of that house gets damaged. Okay. So the two avasthas, that is Shobhita and Shuddhita, they are the two most damaging avasthas. All right. And if a planet has only Shuddhita and Shobhita influences, but no Garvita or Mudita influences, it will not only be completely unproductive. Okay. It will also destroy the Rashi in which it is placed, and also the Bhava cusps that are falling in that Rashi. Okay. If a planet has more Shuddhita and Shobhita influences as compared to Mudita and Garvita influences, it will be productive at times. Okay. Only to lose everything at other times, and it will significantly damage the Rashi that it sits in. Okay. Only damage, all right, not destroy. Okay. So if a planet has Shuddhita and Shobhita Avastha without Garvita or Mudita, then it will destroy the house. Okay. But if a planet has Shuddhita and Shobhita, but also Mudita and Garvita, then it will not, it will not destroy the house completely, but it will significantly damage the house. Okay. And if a planet has only Garvita and Mudita influences, then such a planet will reveal a very healthy Rashi and will be extremely productive. Okay. And if the Garvita and Mudita influences are greater than the Shuddhita and Shobhita influences, then the Rashi will, or the house will, perform relatively well. But the planet will also be relatively productive. Okay. So 4 effects. Yes, 4 effects. Number 1, only Shuddhita and Shobhita with no Garvita or Mudita influence. The house where the planet is placed, or the Rashi where the planet is placed, it is completely damaged. Okay. If is completely destroyed. If there is Shobhita and Shuddhita Avastha, but along with Garvita or Mudita, then the Rashi or house will be damaged but not destroyed. If there is only Garvita and Mudita, then the Rashi will be extremely productive for the native. If there is Garvita and Mudita, okay, or if the influence of Shuddhita and Shobhita is less or are less than Garvita and Mudita, then the planet will be more or less productive. Okay, and even the Rashi will give at least some amount of good results to the native. Okay. So this is about the effect of the Lajjitadi Avasthas. All right. So in the next class, we'll actually deal with how disease springs up in an individual from these Lajjitadi Avasthas. Okay, people think that diseases are a karmic manifestation. Of course, they are karmic manifestations. But how do they originate? They originate, with these Lajjitadi Avasthas being put in place. Okay, in the in the horoscope of the individual. Okay. So any doubt till here? I hope not. And we'll be having the Kala Sarpa around 8:45. Okay. So if you guys are free, you can always join in. I'll be sending the link in the group. Okay. So thank you everyone for joining in. It was a relatively short session, but I wanted it to be short because this is heavy stuff as we are dealing with. I did not want things to be, too heavy. Okay. Jyotish is meant to be enjoyed like a hot cup of chocolate. You sip some, then absorb it, take the taste, and then you sip more. Okay. But if you eat too much, it will actually cause disease because this knowledge comes from the sun. Okay. So if you go too nearby to the sun, it will burn you up. Okay. So the sunlight is to be enjoyed in a little amount of quantity every day. That is what you need to do. Okay. I've been never fond of Jyotish classes which are 2 hours, 3 hours long, because that means your brain cells are burning up. Okay. A Jyotish class ideally has to be around 40 to 45 minutes. I'm keeping it even shorter than that so that we can all enjoy the journey. Okay. The destination is not the point. The journey is the main thing to be enjoyed. Okay. All right, then I'll see you around 8:45 for the Kala Sarpa class. Thank you. Om Gurave Namaha.